We'll have a conversation around, of course, the politics of the day and what we're looking at when it comes to fundamental processes towards in a larger electoral process, rethinking the National Tallying Center. It has been said, it has been resaid, it has been said again. The senator for Busia County said, you know what, let's just scrap this, essentially, let's scrap this thing once and for all. Doesn't need to be part of the conversation. We're going to understand that a little bit more this morning, because Willis Otieno, who is the Safina Party Deputy Party Leader, as well as an advocate, joins us this morning to have that conversation. Willis, good morning. Willis, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's good to have you here, and it's good to see you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here once again.
Karibu.
Always a pleasure to share the platform with you.
Karibu sana. Well, let's get into it. But Dennis wants to share today's proverb. He'll tell you where it's from.
Yes, it's from the Mandinka people from Senegal. And they say, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside cannot do any harm. How would you interpret that?
For anything to work, you always find that the people will undermine you are those who are more close to you. For the outsider to succeed, you will need an internal assister. So be very wary and careful of the people who are around you, closest to you.
Yeah,
Have I got it right?
I mean, it's along those lines that we were just thinking today that actually, you know what, the people who are around you sometimes and you think are the ones who might ground you are actually the ones who put you in the ground.
blood is thicker than water. Where?
It's the most dangerous.
It's the most dangerous. All right, we're coming. It feels as though tomorrow is a general election. It feels as though people have been campaigning for months and getting us to the place where we will get into a presidential and senatorial and gubernatorial member of parliament and all of this. But it's not. It's a by-election. It happens tomorrow, the 27th of November, for 24 positions. And this is from senator through towards the member of the county's assembly. But what this does is also gives rise to a conversation that has been in these spaces for a long time, and that is the conversation around the National Tallying Center. That the Minor Kiai case delivered a judgment, essentially, that would say, you know what, the result of the election is final at the polling station.
Yes.
That the returning officer at the polling station calls it, signs a form and says, this is the number of votes cast, this is your winner. According to that case, we know very clearly that at the polling station, we get the result of the election. So the question has always been, if that's the case, why then do we still need a National Tallying Center to now put everything together and then have to go and then at another hotel or another center, then make announcements once again? The Busia County Senator is saying, you know what, scrap this thing once and for all, essentially. Having a little bit more of a conversation. Willis, open this up for us a little bit. Why are we still talking about this when it seems as though the law has been very clear on what should be happening?
Look, thank you. Number one, let me just say that I was the lawyer acting for Minor Kiai.
Yes, okay.
In the Minor Kiai case. We conceptualized the case and litigated in the court, High Court, to the Court of Appeal. And the position of the law was clear, and is still clear. But it's important that let us walk Kenyans through why that case and why the National Tallying Center is a fallacy. It is merely an institution established to undermine the sovereignty of the people. And I ask every Kenyan to look at their constitution, Article 138(2). 138(1) says this: if only one candidate for president is nominated, that candidate shall be declared elected. That's presidential elections. Then 2, the most important, if 2 or more candidates for president are nominated, an election shall be held in each constituency. That wording is very important. Presidential elections are held in the constituency. So every constituency conducts its own presidential elections. And each constituency is manned by a returning officer. And it proceeds to indicate in Article 138.3, it requires that at the end of the counting of votes in the polling stations, the IEBC shall tally and verify the count and declare the result. The Elections Act establishes now the appointments of constituency returning officers.
Yeah.
And it's important people to know, why are they called returning officers? A returning officer is the person to whom the returns of the elections are made. The returns of a polling station elections, that being the ballot box papers cast and used, the election materials, are returned to the constituency returning officer.
Okay.
That is why it's the returning officer. But then IEBC, rogue as it is, comes up with a regulation and a gazette notice to declare their chairperson to become a presidential election returning officer.
Yeah.
Who does not receive any single returns. There is not a single ballot paper that is cast for presidential elections that finds its way to Bomas.
Let me do this slowly for those of us who've not had coffee.
Yeah.
So each constituency,
Yes.
remember that we're not saying that. So polling stations there are thousands of them,
Yes.
right? But each constituency is a center for the presidential election,
Yes.
right? And each of these centers has a returning officer. So all of the polling stations in the constituency essentially will bring the results of all the votes that have been cast to this constituency polling center.
The returning officer.
To the returning officer at this center.
Yes.
And the presidential election results are included there as well.
They are part of the returns which are coming from polling stations,
Yes.
handed over to the constituency returning officer.
So they've already been collated.
So what happens is this. The collation is done by the returning officer.
Yes.
What happens at the polling station is we count at the polling station and we close the polling station. Then the presiding officer, together with the election officials and the agents, they return those results to the returning officer at the constituency tallying center. And the constituency tallying officer, when he receives, for example, from Uru Gardens Primary School polling station 1, he has the long sheet from 34B.
Yes.
He should be writing Uru Gardens Primary School, this is Langata constituency, returning officer. Uru Gardens Primary School polling station 1, they've come. These are their returns. He writes down.
Yes.
The next polling station comes, Uru Gardens polling station number 3. He enters. And everybody is there. The presiding officers are there. The agents are there. He enters it.
Yes.
Because remember, the returning officer is just capturing what had been counted. He's not tallying
at the polling station.
He's not changing anything. He's just carrying the polling station results and entering it now in the long sheet.
Yes.
And observed by everybody. And as the presiding officers hand over their results in the Form 34A, they also hand over the ballot boxes containing those results.
Yes.
So that if there be any dispute, the boxes are there.
We can come back and look. Even if we need to count 1, 2, 3 to 1,000, we can count.
It is all there.
So at the end of this process, we can see that in Uhuru Gardens polling center, that with the collation of all the polling stations, Willis Otieno has won the presidential in this center.
In fact, what happens in this in the constituency, now Langata constituency.
Now Langata constituency, Willis Otieno is the winner.
All the polling stations have brought.
Yes.
And as they're coming, you are entering. We write down at the end of it all, we do the math.
Yes.
Yeah.
We say, these are the results with an S.
Yes.
Not result, results. The results being that now Jimmy Wanjigi and Willis Otieno have gotten this number of votes. William Ruto and Kindiki have gotten this number of votes. So and so have gotten this number of votes. Kalonzo, this number of votes.
Right.
Then we should be able at that point to say, Langata constituency returns are out.
Yeah.
And the constituency returning officer has made them public. And the media should be free at that point to capture the tallying process, the tabulation, and now the formal announcement by the arrow. Then we say we are done with Langata in terms of presidential. We can now see the returning officer from Vita
Yes.
is doing the same
thing.
They are almost finishing.
Yes.
Let us now go and cover live coverage of Mvita,
Yes.
making their declaration of their results.
So you should not have another Langata then coming later and saying, oh, by the way, we were not able to. We have finished. We are done.
We are done.
All right.
And then, when you do that, everybody sits in their home. Because now it is purely a question of the people of Langata have told us their returns.
Yes.
We've entered. The people of Mbita have told us.
Yes.
The people of Kisauni have told us. As they're telling us, the arrows are announcing, everybody will be adding up.
Okay.
And
So,
at the end of it, when the threshold is met, that who has gotten 50% plus one,
right.
who
So,
has gotten 25% of the votes cast in a minimum 24 counties.
okay.
When that is achieved, all of us can see. In fact, the media at that point should be able to say, as per our projections, based on what the arrows have announced at the constituency, we are calling this election for Jimmy Wanjigi and Willis Otieno, for example.
So, sorry, I know Dennis, but so now, with the things that you have said, why would we still need to go again and go to Bomas? Now there's no more Bomas. I don't know where it would be. Why?
CC.
Okay, CC. Why would we still need to then go again and now start saying that we didn't see this, we are still adding? That has been the practice. Why would that need to happen?
That's a very good question. And I want Kenyans to understand. The entire infrastructure for Bomas costs you approximately 20 billion. And what is the purpose of Bomas? And I'll say this without fear of contradiction. Bomas is just purely a crime scene. It is where somebody who wants to interfere with the elections gets a bird's eye view. It's a filter. That I have seen what the returning officers at the constituency have announced. I want to interfere. I want to know where I need to top up. I want to know where to bridge. So what they do, they tell the media, don't make any announcement of what the arrows at the constituencies have done. Come to Bomas to receive your feeds. Then how do they do it? This is how they do it. Bomas at 5 or 7 p.m. in the evening, which, number one, is impractical. If polling closes at 5, by the time you do the closing procedures of an election, closing procedures simply means you take note of all the ballots which were issued, look at the ballots which were retained, and you fill all those forms, you seal the boxes, you rearrange the polling station now to become a counting station. It is practically impossible to conclude that process and issue results by 5 or 7 p.m. Impossible. But we witnessed in 2017, at 5 or 7 p.m., 7 minutes after the close of polling, IEBC at Bomas starts showing you at the National Tallying Center polling stations giving results in favor of Uhuru Kenyatta. Right? Then, before you know it, they are releasing some polling station from Marsabit. Before you pay attention, there's a releasing one from Baringo, there's one from Kisumu.
Yeah.
So they are jumbled up. So the whole nation is now at a loss because they are throwing at you polling station results from all over the country. You don't know which constituents they come from. You cannot keep track. 99.9% of Kenyans have never heard even the names of those polling stations. And that is how they end up even having the so-called fake polling stations. Because you don't know them. Nobody can keep track. Nobody knows the polling stations by names. If somebody just tells you even polling station, Urgade's polling station,
You say, okay, fine.
Stream polling station 8 of 12. Maybe there's even no 8. It's up to 7. No one knows. But at the constituency level, we keep track. So what they do at Bomas is this. They take over the sovereignty of the people at Bomas. Whatever we did at the polling stations and whatever we did at the constituency levels is ignored.
Essentially, it's rubbished.
It's rubbished.
Yeah.
Now, at the National Tallying Center, they have a bird's eye view. They know what their favored candidate had received. They know how much they need to top up. And they are the ones who are controlling the information flow. And when they control the information flow, they'll determine what they're feeding the people of Kenya.
And only for the presidential election.
That is where the mischief is.
Yeah.
So, Willis, I just want to look at the counting of the votes, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but the counting starts with the presidential vote.
Yes.
That means even before we get to the member of National Assembly or the governor, we already know who has won a specific polling station as the president. We go to the constituency, it is the president's vote which is always received first. Now, at that point, with all the 290 constituencies in the country, one would say, by the time we are sitting at Bomas with enjoying the choir and China Mandazi, we already know what the results are.
Back put it this way, Dennis. Every polling station should have at maximum 700 registered voters. Maximum. Polling ends in Kenya at 5 p.m. On election day. Give or take, you take 1 hour to do the closing procedures. Give or take. Then, after the close, so it means by 6 p.m., the closing procedures have been done. Then give or take that I'm giving you 1 hour to just count 1 to 700. Even if we start counting now 1 to 700, it will not take us 10 minutes.
Yes.
But out of abundance of caution, give it 1 hour. So it means, then I'll say, give an extra 1 hour just for any contingencies that you may not have foreseen. By 8 p.m. of elections night, by 8 p.m. of elections night, somebody somewhere knows the results of the elections, because there is no polling station in the whole country that is still counting presidential election results.
Okay, so Willis, this is interesting because it's also necessary that we realize that as we have these conversations that there are many a Kenyan, that we don't even know the number of votes that can be cast at any polling station. We don't know that, that you can't exceed a certain number, that you can't say that 10,000 people voted here. It doesn't happen. So just like you said, 700. If we count from now to 700, from 1 to 700, like you said, will be done in 10 minutes. So other people, 1,000 other people, 1,400 and I think it's 80 other people can be doing the same thing and we would be done in 10 minutes, right?
Yes.
Simultaneous counting. If we know that it closes at 5 and at 5 o'clock we begin to make this computation, we can actually be done in 3 hours around the country, right?
Yes.
In terms of counting.
Yes.
But we've clouded this thing in mystery. Are you saying essentially that because we've drawn it out and said, okay, that is the time that then mischief starts to take root?
Exactly. It is a system designed for mischief. That's the principal design of that system. If we left it as envisaged in the Constitution, that let the constituency, as provided in the Constitution, be the center of presidential elections, then the people in that constituency are all able to know and follow up on the polling stations in that particular constituency.
Okay. We may be confusing people just a little bit, Willis, here. So let's just take a step, we've taken a few steps back, right? So when we go and we talk about the constituency, essentially we are saying that all the polling stations that happen in a particular area, the constituency, which also is a polling station, but
Center.
then is a center now. It's like the headquarters.
Yes.
It's like the headquarters of this region where the election took place, where the voting took place.
Yes.
So all of that will come to, and because you already have 290 constituencies in the country, it was easy to then pinpoint that Westlands constituency is a center, that you will say that Embakasi is a center, and that you will say that Langata is a center. So all of these, the 290 will now bring their result, and that will all be tallied and will say these are the results. But the constituency essentially is the headquarters of this area, and that's why it's called a polling center. And because you already are demarcated, we use the constituency because it's already there.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if we know this and it is clear, and IEBC being a constitutional body, if they have this fundamental understanding that this collation has already happened in 290 headquarters, as it were, and it is final, according to the law, it's final, why wouldn't they be very ready, even with a new IBC, why wouldn't they be very ready to say, you know what, scrap this thing? We wouldn't need Okeom Tata to come and say, come on, guys, you don't need to count anymore. Why wouldn't they just come and say, you know what, remove the thing?
The constitution is clear.
Yes.
I have to take you back a little.
Okay.
When I was arguing my NKI case in the High Court, IBC was the respondent. Our petition was about interpreting the Constitution and giving effect to Article 138. You know, IBC was opposing it.
Opposing what?
That polling station results are final. Start from that. IBC, we are telling the court that our reading of the Constitution, polling station results are final. And presidential elections are constituency-based, not national.
Yes.
IEBC was in court saying polling stations results cannot be final. As IEBC, we have a duty to relook into them, to recheck them. And we are saying that is not your duty. That's the duty of the court, if anybody is disputing.
Yes.
So that's the mindset.
But
and
who
for your
conducts
information,
but who conducts the election all the way from the beginning? Is it not IEBC?
No, in their mind, understand it this way.
Yeah.
In their mind, by the way, they don't consider the presiding officer
as
to
IEBC.
be IEBC.
Who is
they
it?
don't consider the returning officer at the constituency to be IEBC. To them, IEBC
It's the commissioners.
are those 7 people who are sitting in Nairobi. That is what their mindset is. They think they are their commission. They don't even think that when the elections are being conducted at the constituency level, that returning officer is IEBC. That presiding officer, that clerk is IEBC.
It is, and it's an
for
IEBC
good measure,
process.
Yes,
Yeah.
and for good measure, the matter went to the Court of Appeal. We won the argument in the High Court. The court agreed with our interpretation and upheld it. IEBC appealed. IEBC was saying, the High Court is wrong. We must have an opportunity to look into these results at the polling station and reconfirm them and check them and make sure that they are okay. That if they are not okay, we have a right to change them, to make them okay. That was the argument. And the Court of Appeal told them, no. Those results are final. And the elections are done at the constituency. What did they do post that? They have since ignored minor K. They are still going on with what they're trying to do that the court was telling them you cannot do it. They are still maintaining their National Tallying Center and declaring their chairperson to be a returning officer of presidential elections. And let me give you something that maybe Kenyans can relate to easily. Nowadays, Kenyans follow American elections. In American elections, the elections are conducted per state.
Yes.
Each state conducts its presidential elections for the President of America. And once the states have done their polling, counted the polling station results, which is done at the state level, the results are projected. The media is able to project that as per Hawaii state, Obama has received this number of votes. We go to California, Obama has received, you get?
Yes.
To an extent that the media is normally the first to make their final, the projection of the election, to call the elections. That because we have been to every state, we have seen what the states have announced. Based on these results that we've received per state, the winner of this election is X. And the system in that country Because everybody's seeing it, not just the media. Everybody's present at the state level. They are seeing what is coming out of the precincts. They are able to call the election and accept. So in Kenya, I want us to equate the constituencies with the states. It is every constituency should be conducting their elections, making their declarations of the results, and every Kenyan, wherever they are sitting, based on what the constituency returning officer is declaring, should be able to note down, do the addition, tabulate the figures, and say, once we reach the threshold, so and so has won the elections. So that even if you are to file a petition, Raila Odinga the late, may his soul rest in peace, had never had a problem with the votes cast for him, for example, in Kasipul Kabondo. But you're now forcing Raila Odinga to file a petition challenging the elections, the entire presidential elections, when he has no problem with the votes cast in Kasipul Kabondo. If we went the way the Constitution had envisaged, even filing a petition, I'll only be able to flesh out certain constituencies
that I have a problem
with. I will only file my petition in respect to Tharaka Nithi, for example, or this particular Mvita, Kisauni. I'm able to say these are the results I'm questioning. Then, at the point of filing that petition, and I've fleshed down which constituencies, those constituency results, including the ballot boxes and papers, can easily be delivered to court. Yeah, maybe there are only 4 constituencies. The ballot boxes can be brought to court here in Nairobi. But when you file a petition challenging the entire election of the president, because you don't know where the mischief took place, because they find they start stealing votes even from where they could not do it, they just start adding up numbers or subtracting from one competitor to put to another competitor.
So if this process then bore any weight, this one that we're talking about where IEBC insists that it is then of necessity that the tallied results are then retallied, then if it bore any weight, would we then say, then why do you only do it for the presidential election? If it bore weight, then do it for everything from MCA through to governor.
Correct. And that is why, to try to address that mischief, they illegally declare their chairperson to be the returning officer for presidential elections. Maybe I should tell you this, that we don't lose it.
Yeah.
Article 138 of the 10 of the Constitution. What is the role of the chairperson of IEBC? The Constitution has defined for the chairperson what his role is in presidential elections. Within 7 days after the presidential election, the chairperson, not the returning officer, no, the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission shall declare the result of the election and deliver a written notification of the result to the Chief Justice and the incumbent president. The word used, he declares the result, the outcome.
One. Yeah.
The person who has met 50% plus one, the person who has met a minimum 25% in 24 counties, this is the winner. That is the singular role of the chairperson of IEBC in presidential elections.
They're not to interrogate, they're not to interpret, they're not to tally, they're to announce.
They are not announced. He's supposed to just issue the certificate of winner. And I ask Kenyans, go into the website and internet and check the certificate of winner that the chairperson prepared under Article 138.10. It only has one name. It does not contain any results that so-and-so received this number of votes, so-and-so. No. It only has the name of the person who has met the threshold of the Constitution.
You know, Willis, as I hear you speak and just understanding it, then we've never really held an election in this country based off the requirements of the Constitution.
My people suffer for lack of knowledge. For the longest time, legacy politicians and their surrogates have taken advantage of the I'll call it constitutional illiteracy of most Kenyans. Because I was arguing this thing in 2014. Because I was looking at 2013 elections, I was like, you didn't do it as per the constitution.
Yeah.
I was there in 2013. The court affirmed this position. IEBC has ignored this position. But now we're in the era of enlightenment. The Kenyan people are now getting more and more enlightened. And they are now being more assertive in demanding for rule by the constitution. This is one issue that if you ask me, because this is about sovereignty. This is the ultimate point when the Kenyan people donate their sovereignty to their chosen representative and about the president. This is one thing the Kenyan people should not let go. If Kenyans are to go to a revolution apart from on the economy, this should be the next one.
In terms of how elections are run.
Yeah.
There's a question here, and you know where it might appear a little obvious, but let's do this. Please ask Willis, how can the chair know the winner without adding up and tallying the polling station results? I'm assuming it was a process, and we know that one of the reasons why elections are so expensive in Kenya, and just going to your answer, why elections are so expensive, is that across board you have all these people who participate in the election who must be paid, who participate for counting, who participate in, sitting there as you come in and register and then cast your vote and all of this across the country in all, across counties. So they are part of the process. For you to get the result at the constituency polling center, they have done the due diligence. So they are part of the process. So the question here for you, Willis, is that how do you expect the chair to make an announcement or to offer a certificate without going and counting again at Bomas or now
the
KICC?
chairperson should sit down in his boardroom or in his office with the list of all constituencies and the returning officers. As the constituent returning officer is doing his announcement, captured on live, even him, he should be doing his own, that constituency Langata has declared, these are the results.
Yeah.
Mvita is ready, he enters from Mvita. So-and-so is ready, he enters it. Then, as is able to see who has met the 50% plus one, who has met the 25% threshold in 24 counties. You don't need Bomas to do that. Because the bulk of the work has been done at the constituency level. Whatever now remains is simple arithmetic. He can do it in his boardroom, in his office. Just like I can also do it in my boardroom, in my office. Just like the media, when they're doing their projection, can also do it in their studio. And any Kenyan with access to a calculator
can do it.
Because we all know the constituencies. The constituency tallying centers are gazetted tallying centers.
Right.
We know them. The returning officers of the constituencies are gazetted officers. And when they are doing their processes, they have with them the agents, the other election officials, and observers. And you have media capturing and relaying to the Kenyan people that process up to the declaration of the results. So we don't need the chairman to also invite us to do his addition of what we've already participated at the constituency level. That's now purely administrative. Tell the listener, it is purely administrative. We don't need to spend 20 billion for somebody to add what we all know. We all need a calculator. Maybe Kenyans can buy him a smartphone or a calculator.
That means, Willis, that if the presidential elections is called at the winner at the constituency, Kenyans know who has won in that constituency. Observers know. The agents know. We do not therefore need, hear me out, that this form that should leave the constituency come all the way to Nairobi to the chairman to do the tabulation and declare.
To me, that's the point. Even if there's a form that's supposed to be filled, it can only be the form of the returning over the constituency that he uses to tabulate. And he can even just fax it now to the IEBC officers for archiving. Yeah. It does not become what they try to make it to be.
Yes.
That it is now...
We are waiting for the form.
Why can't... the interesting thing is this. This presidential returning officer, IEBC chairperson, when he insists that he wants the form, why doesn't he insist that as you bring for me the form in your constituency, bring for me the ballot boxes? Because the primary document in the election ecosystem is the ballot. So they should be saying, then bring the ballot box also to Nairobi.
That means if indeed the chairperson was the returning officer, all the election materials should be returned to him.
That is the concept of a returning officer. He's the one to whom returns are made.
Okay. So essentially what we're saying here is that after the determination of the minor KI case, it would have been expected that this practice then would change. And if we're looking at 2014 and then moving forward, the one who was in this position was the late Wafula Chebukati. He should have actually said, you know what, there's no need for this Bomas thing. Everybody go home. As all of the ROs from around the constituencies bring their results, we will then put this together and we will give you the result.
I'll issue the result.
He should have everybody shouldn't have been at Bomas in 2017.
Nope.
Nobody should have been at Bomas at 2022. However, they were there. And from all we can see, it would appear as though Erastus Ethekon is planning to be at Bomas, KICC, wherever, in August of 2027. Right now, having this conversation, although he tells us, and he's been telling us for the last 7 days or so, that there will be no misconduct at the IEBC. We will follow the law. Nobody has anything to worry about. It seems as though there's operation in two totally different galaxies here. The law and then what IEBC wants to do. And we're already seeing that there's a possibility of misconduct. And we're not talking about these little things here where people are saying, don't come into Narok, don't come into fine people $1 million. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about fundamental flaws where there is a dereliction of duty, number one, and then there is a total ignorance of the law and doing what you want to do in order to then be able to manipulate a result. That's a glaring misconduct. But we seem to assume that it's going to be done and it's going to be okay, even in the face of Ethekon saying there will be no misconduct by the IEBC.
But the very misconduct, as you've put it, is just in the infrastructure that are setting up. If the Constitution and the courts have told you that presidential elections are constituency-based, then why do you have a structure that you want to create a parallel system to conduct the elections or to undermine? In fact, it's purely to manipulate the elections without following the Constitution. So Ethekon needs to be called out early enough.
Why wouldn't he be bold enough to come out and say, even from now that we see? Because this is a story that is carried, interestingly, on page 6 today.
What happens is this.
Give me a little wiggle room. That here, of course, we see that what Senator Okiom Tata is saying, that the Kenya election problems stem from the National Tallying Center, just like you said, that has already been established. We're pushing for a court order preventing the IEBC from altering presidential votes once declared by constituency returning officers. That is even a thing that you have to take to court is a bit worrying. That we're saying, please don't alter. It's lawful. You shouldn't touch the results. This is what you get in raw form. Deliver it in that manner. Ethekon should have, in my opinion, and from what I see it, you can please explain from a legal perspective here, constitutional perspective, at the beginning of the establishment of this current IEBC, should have actually come out to say very clearly to people, as they have in other press conferences, that this National Tallying Center, circus fiasco, we're going to put it to bed. There will be no there will be nothing like that because this is unnecessary. Why wouldn't we have him being so robust in the first move to come out and say it's not going to happen? National Tallying Center, no. Restore trust in people.
The greatest challenge the Kenyan people face are legacy politicians and their surrogates. Ethekon is a surrogate of legacy politicians. Why do you expect more from him? I've told you Chebukati and Ahmed Isaac, it was Chebukati that time,
it was Chebukati,
was litigating with me, arguing that the IEBC must have a National Tallying Center to recheck, to reconfirm, and to alter results. Those were their words in court. That's the mindset. that is why we need a national tallying center. And the presidential elections, the results, the presidential elections must be conducted from the national. They were arguing that they should have this national tallying center where they can recheck, retally, and alter. Those were their words in court. Then now, all of a sudden, you think that they will wake up unless the Kenyan people put pressure on them to change that position. I've told you, the primary reason why the NTC is designed is to manipulate the results. It is to steal the sovereignty of the people of Kenya, period. It has got nothing to do with actualizing the will of the voter. That I can say even in front of the chairperson of IEBC. The National Tallying Center, other than gobbling over 20 billion of our money, serves, the only other purpose it serves is to ensure that it provides a platform by the legacy politicians and the incumbents to manipulate our presidential elections. We are going to win these elections tomorrow. By elections in constituencies and in wards.
Yeah.
And those results are going to be called by returning officers in those constituencies. And at the time of announcement, when it is done, even the media will be able to replay it to us. They will capture to us in all those polling centers, constituencies, the declarations that are being made by the returning officers. And we will all know who has won. And the disputes will be narrowed down to the specific constituencies, if there is any. But then all of a sudden, when the same returning officer who has done the presidential elections for his constituency, you are telling him he cannot make an announcement, he has to send forms to Nairobi, not the ballots.
Yeah.
And the media is told, don't capture the announcement of results at the constituency, come to Bomas and get our feed. In fact, let me draw a challenge now to the media. My challenge to our media is this. In the coming elections, presidential, don't buy fear. The threat about advertisement revenue, at you are told, don't go and capture what is happening in the constituencies, come to Bomas and get a feed from us. We will feed you the results.
Literally.
That is nonsense. Tell them you will not feed us. We will go and find it at the constituency. And it's only what at the constituency that we are going to relay to the people of Kenya. Because as citizens, we must have a responsibility.
Yes.
If this system is refusing to live by the constitution, then nothing stops media from saying no. For purposes of the information we're relaying to the people of Kenya, we will do it as per the constitution. We will go to every constituency and observe the tallying process by the returning officers, and we'll capture that returning officer making a public announcement of the results by his constituency. At the constituency level, once he makes that announcement, we will do our adding up.
Yeah.
But what these guys normally do, you find somebody that is coming as an IEBC chairperson or a commissioner coming to tell you, oh, results for Samburu East, Raila Odinga, William Ruto. Another one comes, oh, votes, we have Bobasi, Raila Odinga, William Ruto. He's here in Nairobi. Who conducted the election?
And it was conducted and was done.
Done in Bobasi, in Nyaribari Chache. Where is that person? That's the person who is holding the returns. That is the person the media needs to look for. The person who is holding the returns. That is the person they should be capturing. Not somebody sitting at Bomas here, reading for you figures that even him, he doesn't know where they've come from. If you question him, he cannot even defend his own figures.
You know, Willis, as you speak, if you just look at even the county elections, for a governor, so you would go to every other polling center, count the governor's votes, and that as is being announced pretty much what should happen in a presidential election.
Yes.
And you look at when it's being called for governors, media can call that out. Anyone can call that out because in a county, everyone is there and they're able to count and know who has won the election. Yes. But when it comes to the presidential elections, there are a lot of gates that have been put in place. Media cannot call it. The returning officer cannot do it. It is only the national returning officer who does not even exist in the constitution. Why?
Because it's about manipulating. Because if you ask me, That RO who is conducting the elections at the constituency level is able to call his results and announce them for all the other 5.
Yes.
What is so special about this other one? When the ballot boxes were there right before him, when the forms were all there, the presiding officer, the election officials, POs, and the clerks were all there before him. But now all of a sudden you tell him, for purpose of presidential, no, it has to come to Nairobi. But for purpose of the others, you can make your declaration.
Yeah. For purposes of the others, we trust that the numbers that you're giving us are okay. But we may have an issue with this presidential one. So let that one come here. So the process is clear and it's fair across board, from MCA to Member of Parliament to Senator to Woman Rep to Governor. We have no problem with that one. We have a problem with this one. So give it to us. We'll be the ones to be able to sort that out. Yeah. Okay. The damning effect of this is so glaring, Willis, that essentially we are saying that somebody wants an opportunity and has had an opportunity in the past to manipulate the results of a presidential election, which is a crime. You've called Bomas a crime scene. Saitabao Olekanchori was almost in tears in the last election and called Bomas a crime scene. At that point, we really didn't know what he was saying. But from what you're saying now is that we are looking at anomalies that have been happening intentionally, and this is an abrogation of the law, but we seem to be okay with it. That we're just saying, okay, well, it's lawful. And then you going against it is unlawful. But it's happening, and then there's a body that has been established constitutionally to ensure that these things don't happen. But Willis, they're happening. They do happen. Why is it that it's as though, it's like you're courting the idea of constitutionalism?
Yeah.
And you're saying, okay, well, we can just play around with the idea. People will make noise, but after a couple of months, they'll keep quiet. It's a serious matter.
That is why I said, if there should be any other point of a revolution in this country other than the economy, it's on sovereignty. And the Kenyan people need to pay more attention to how their sovereignty is donated. And to give you an example, maybe this one's Kenya may relate to. Those who are active in 2007. Do you know the reasons why the elections of 2007 went the way they did? The media was at every constituency tallying center. And the media was able to capture what the returning officers were announcing.
One by one.
To the point where, when they wanted to manipulate the results at the National Tallying Center in favor of Kibaki, everybody could see through it. Everybody could see where the mischief is coming from. Because we had all witnessed ROs making their declaration of the results. We had all done our tallying. So at the point of theft, people were able to capture, arrest the thief. That is what we need. And the Kenyan people have faith in you. I don't think that legacy politicians and their surrogates are the ones who should be determining our fate, undermining our constitution. A nation cannot be strong if it cannot live by its constitution. It just weakens the social fabric of the society. It undermines the state. And in the fullness of time, this little clawing back on our constitution are the things that will break this nation. So the Kenyan people must say no. And Ethicon and his commissioners.
So who insists?
You have a responsibility.
So who insists that at the constituency tallying center, who insists that this is going to be the result?
These are the people I'm going to address directly. Number one is the information flow. And this is directly to the media in Kenya. The media must take a position to reject relaying documents or figures coming from boomers. They say, as a policy and in respect to our constitution, we will capture and relay only information coming from the constituency returning officer duly gazetted. First step. The second group that I want to call upon are political parties. Because they are the primary vessels through which the citizens engage in political activities. They have a responsibility to amplify their voice and to put pressure to bear on IEBC and other legacy politicians. Number 3 is civil society. They have a responsibility to raise civil awareness amongst the people. They have a duty to protect the Constitution. Number 4 is our young people. Those who fought and died for this country. Those who are relentlessly pursuing a society that respects the true issue of the people of Kenya. They have a responsibility to pick up this and champion this cause, that for once, I'll follow my ballot box paper from the point I cast it to the point when it's making sense at the constituency. They must own the conversation. And number 5, the religious leaders can pray for us. And in their sermons, call out.
Preach the message.
Preach the message. If all of us play our role, I do believe the next elections we'll have in Kenya, we will know our president by the next day in the morning, 9 a.m. We will all know our president.
Willis, the law is clear on what needs to be done, but clearly we've decided not to just follow the Constitution and what the law says. If you look at individuals who have been at IEBC, these are legal minds. You know, these are people who understand the Constitution, because for anyone to be IEBC chair, almost a magistrate,
Supreme Court judge.
Supreme Court judge.
Yes.
Those are the requirements. One would say these are people who understand the law inside out. But who stands to benefit? Where does the pressure come from that these individuals who understand the law this well find it necessary to break the very law?
It is the legacy politicians, and more so the incumbent. That is the person who is sitting at the national having a bird's eye view, who knows that I don't have enough votes. I want to be able to control which votes are going to be assigned to me. It is done at the behest of the incumbent. In this particular instance, the National Tallying Center is being set up to assist William Ruto to have a bird's eye view of the elections, in contradistinction to what the Constitution provides. That's the truth. If we were to live by the Constitution, if there was no intention from the incumbent and his political class to undermine, then nobody should be arguing over this. We should all be going to our constituencies, conduct our elections as per the Constitution. Whoever wins, we shake hands, and the country continues. But why the insistence? To an extent that I'm telling you, that infrastructure of the Bomas National Tallying Center cost us almost 20 billion. It is the single largest item for elections, apart from the remuneration. In terms of whatever you're purchasing, the equipment you're buying, the single largest is that IEBC infrastructure, that Bomas infrastructure.
Right.
That is bought every 5 years.
Yes. The technology that they're deploying, that whole system that they're setting up, just to undermine your sovereignty.
And don't listen to Willis. Read your constitution, essentially, is what you're saying. If you don't want to listen to what Willis Otieno is saying this morning, and has been saying for a while now, just read what the Constitution says and follow what the Constitution says. Would you agree with that, Willis?
I agree. Article 138(2) and Article 138(10) understand the role of the chairperson of IEBC, chairperson, not returning officer. Understand the sphere where presidential elections are supposed to be held at the constituency. And read your Elections Act as well to know what a returning officer is. The person to whom returns of that elections are made. What are the returns? Returns are the ballot boxes, the ballot papers, cast and uncast, where they're returned.
It's 8:08, and that's clear. And there's so many moving parts to this, but this vehicle must move at one way or in one direction or another. Willis Otieno is Deputy Party Leader, Safina Party, as well as advocate. Constitutionally, it's very clear on some things. Thank you for being here this morning, Willis. We look forward to more conversations where we can engage on these matters, and it will be an interesting day to watch tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.